The deep ocean is not just dark. It is a world built on extremes, where every rule of life begins to break. We've explored parts of this hidden realm before, places where creatures survive on scraps, on drifting particles, on whatever little energy reaches them from above. But today, we go deeper than that, far deeper. Because there is a place in the ocean where life is pushed to its absolute limit, a place where the pressure is so intense it can crush steel like paper, where sunlight has never existed, where the environment itself should make survival impossible. And yet, something lives there. Strange creatures with transparent bodies, fish that look like they have no faces, endless fields of bacteria feeding on chemicals instead of light, and animals so alien they barely resemble anything we know. This is the world of the Mariana Trench, the deepest place on Earth. Stretching across the floor of the Pacific Ocean, this massive trench curves like a scar across the planet's surface. It runs for over 2,500 kilometers, longer than many countries. But what makes it truly terrifying is not its length, it's its depth. At its lowest point lies a place known as the Challenger Deep, nearly 11 kilometers beneath the surface. So deep that if you placed Mount Everest at the bottom, its peak would still be swallowed by the ocean above. And for most of human history, we had no idea it even existed. In 1875, aboard the research ship HMS Challenger, scientists were lowering a weighted rope into the Pacific Ocean, measuring depth. They expected the usual results, but the rope kept going, and going, and going. They ran out of rope, added more, then more again. When the weight finally hit the bottom, the number they recorded shocked the world, over 5 miles deep. At the time, it seemed almost impossible, but discovering it was one thing. Reaching it was something else entirely. It would take nearly a century before humans dared to go down. In 1960, 2 men, Jacques Piccard and Walsh, climbed into a small submersible called the Trieste, a fragile steel sphere, descending into a place no human had ever seen. The journey took almost 5 hours. And as they sank deeper, the ocean began to fight back. At around 9,000 meters down, they heard it, a sharp crack. One of the viewing windows had partially fractured. At that depth, any failure means instant death. No rescue, no escape. They had a choice: turn back, or continue descending into the deepest place on Earth. With a damaged window, they kept going, and when they finally reached the bottom, what they saw changed everything. In the beam of their lights, on a seafloor that should have been completely lifeless, something moved, a shrimp, and what appeared to be a flatfish, life, in a place where science once believed nothing could survive. That single moment proved something extraordinary. Life does not just exist in comfortable environments. It adapts, even to the most extreme conditions on Earth. Subscribe. You don't want to miss this, because what lives deeper than this is even more unbelievable. Decades later, another explorer would follow the same path. In 2012, filmmaker and deep-sea explorer James Cameron descended alone into the trench aboard the Deep-Sea Challenger, nearly 11 kilometers down, in total darkness. What he found was not emptiness, but life. Fields of microscopic organisms spread across the seafloor. Strange, thread-like structures feeding on chemicals. At the bottom of the Challenger Deep, the pressure reaches around 16,000 pounds per square inch. That's like having dozens of elephants pressing down on every square inch of your body. No human could survive here. No normal animal could either. And yet, something does. Among them is a small, fragile-looking fish known as the Mariana snailfish, living nearly 8,000 meters below the surface, in a place where even bones would struggle to hold their shape. It has no scales. Its body is soft, almost gelatin-like, because in this world, being rigid means being crushed. Everything here is built differently, adapted, rewritten by evolution itself. And this is only the beginning. Discovered only recently, one of the strangest inhabitants of the deep is a fragile-looking creature known as the Mariana snailfish. At depths reaching nearly 8,000 meters, this small, ghostly fish holds the record as the deepest living fish ever recorded. And yet, it looks like it shouldn't exist at all. Its body is almost completely translucent, soft, gelatinous, barely structured. It has no scales, very little bone. And its skin is so delicate it would collapse under its own weight if brought to the surface. Its face appears unfinished, as if evolution stopped halfway through. But in this crushing darkness, this design is perfect. Instead of fighting the pressure, it becomes one with it. The snailfish drifts just above the seafloor, feeding on tiny crustaceans. When prey gets close, it opens its mouth and creates a sudden vacuum, pulling its meal in before it can escape. No speed, no chase, just efficiency. But as strange as it is, the snailfish is one of the least disturbing things down here, because in the huddle zone, even the smallest creatures can become giants. Take the giant amphipod. At first glance, it looks like a simple shrimp. But at these depths, it grows to sizes that feel unnatural, up to 30 centimeters long, nearly the size of a human forearm. Compare that to its shallow water relatives, smaller than a grain of rice. This is deep-sea gigantism in action, a phenomenon where creatures grow far larger than their surface counterparts. And these creatures are not hunters, they are scavengers, waiting. Because in the deep, food does not come often, but when it does, it changes everything. When a whale dies and sinks to the ocean floor, it becomes something known as a whale fall. A single event that can feed entire ecosystems for years. And when that happens, thousands of amphipods appear, swarming, covering the carcass, stripping it down to bone in a matter of days, a silent feeding frenzy in total darkness. And their survival depends on something even more unusual. To withstand the extreme pressure and chemical environment, these creatures produce a protective layer using aluminum compounds extracted from seafloor sediment, a natural armor built from the ocean itself. But even this is not the strangest life form down here, because some creatures in the deep aren't even creatures. At least not in the way we understand them. Meet the cenophyophore. At first, it looks like a lump of mud, or a strange, shapeless growth attached to a rock. But it is alive, and even more unbelievable, it is a single cell. One cell, growing up to the size of a tennis ball. In any other environment, this would be impossible. Cells are fragile, limited, but here, in the slow, stable conditions of the deep, they grow to sizes that challenge everything we know about biology. Scientists still don't fully understand how they survive, or what exact role they play, only that they exist, and that they shouldn't. Then there are creatures that look like evolution, completely abandon them. In 2017, researchers exploring deep waters encountered something that instantly caught global attention. A fish with no visible face, known as the faceless cusk eel. No visible eyes, no clear features, just smooth skin where a face should be. its mouth hidden underneath its body, it looks less like an animal and more like a mistake. But even that isn't the most surreal adaptation, because deeper still, there exists a fish that can literally see through its own head. The barrel-eye fish. Its skull is completely transparent. Inside, you can see its eyes, bright green, tubular, normally pointed upward, scanning the faint light from above for silhouettes of prey, and when it's time to feed, those eyes rotate forward, inside its own head. This is not science fiction. This is real. But perhaps the most disturbing discovery in the Mariana Trench is not a creature at all. It's us. In 2019, explorer Victor Vescovo descended to the bottom of the Challenger Deep, the most remote place on Earth. And what he found was plastic, a plastic bag, candy wrappers, human waste, at nearly 11 kilometers below the surface, the deepest point on the planet. And we have already reached it. This discovery changed something, because it proved that no place on Earth, no matter how deep, how isolated, is untouched by human impact. And yet, despite everything we've found, the Mariana Trench remains largely unexplored, vast, unmapped, unknown.